Adams, and it's 19th of July, Sunday, in Canterbury, in the loft again. And blog 4.
Oh yes, and it's very hot up here, but for the sound, I think it'll be better. Since everybody is complaining about the sound, so we do have a new microphone coming in soon, so we will have even definitely better sound. That's promise. And so today, like I said, I want to talk about a little bit of my experience I had with Athena and some of the deities I had like 2 days ago. And I also want to talk about an experience I had last night about the Draco. And then I want to go ahead and get to questions and answers. And I will be doing a basis conference. So I have a lot to talk about then. So I'm sort of just right now trying to get everything down for then, and just so I want to kind of just brief some things that I've experienced, and also do a question and answer today, which I think will be really, really good, because I'm working on definitely on some of the subjects I need to do at the conference. I'm putting all my energy to there right now. So I did want to talk about my experience with Athena. And when I was younger, quite young, I would always have different deities, I guess you could call them. I call them advanced beings. They have like interdimensional tech and all sorts that would come and visit me and come and see me. Since I was a little child, I would have dreams about them or see them or stuff like that. The thing is that I have one really, really strong experience I had with Diana, with the goddess Diana, or deity Diana. And this was probably when I was like, goodness, I have issues with time, because I access all different timelines and dimensions stuff, so I have issues with time. Sometimes I'm not even aware what day it is. That becomes an issue. But I think I was maybe like 16 or 17, and suddenly I was in what seemed like a mansion in the clouds, a sort of cloud mansion, a temple, and there were different deities in the temple, and they were just kind of, it's funny because it's like they are still a bit human but are so advanced. They have like these fruits that you wouldn't even think about here. They're like exotic fruits that are from some other dimension. So they're up there, and they were all kind of just like chilling out, and there was a sort of a pool or bathing area, and there was different deities, goddesses, and they were all talking and interacting and stuff like that. And I know that when you go into the pool, it would purify you, and I've been there a couple of times, so it's really, really cool. I'd come after so much better, having so much more energy and stuff. And I remember Diana, she was like, goodness, like 7 or 8 feet tall. And I was much, much shorter than her in there, and she was just like telling me, I know it's a bit hard for you on Earth like that, and she was like, don't worry, I have your back, sort of thing, and I watch over you. And she's like told me back then that I wasn't a being of war. So it's really funny because that ties into what I experienced with Athena a couple of days ago. And initially I saw a normal road. This is what my experience with Athena. I was shown this normal street where there was all these people walking, and Athena was next to me, and she said, take a good look. And I said, oh, it's just a whole bunch of human people just walking. It's just people walking. And she said, no, take a closer look. She said that I guess what you could call the Titans, but she used a word for them. They don't use the words here, and they don't express the same way as people has made it in 3D with 3D language. But she showed me initially, and she said some of those in the crowd are not what you see. They've been let out and we're taking care of it. Like the higher deities were taking care of it. So then I said, okay, so she said, we're here to lure them. So initially, this group of people came out of the whole crowd, a smaller group of people, and they started to follow her and some other of the deities to this place. And they started to go to where there was, I could say, only like what seems to be some sort of portal, but there was a space between the portal where you would have to enter to get to the portal. And she said to me, she said, just follow me. So I was following her, and then we went through the portal, and then she said, look, and suddenly it's like the portal stayed closed, and as they went to go enter the portal, this fire started coming out, and I saw them shapeshift, and they shapeshift into all sorts of beings that were, some were very large, like giants, and they were like the Titans, you know how they would say like the Titans, and it was very, very interesting because of the fact that I'm like, okay, I thought it was really cool what I was experiencing, so I was just like, okay. And she said that there was this whole war going on with the some of the older beings, and I believe that these are what throughout history in different cultures have been called demons, or have been called the fallen, or have been called Titans. I believe that's all the same thing, and what we're experiencing all of this, and it's all the same thing, and it's all the same message in the end. And we just have, here on earth, we have different ways of seeing it and different ways of saying it when it's all the same thing. And they started initially, after that they started fighting, warring, and then everything was well, and Athena wouldn't let me war. She was like, you're not made for war. And I said to her, I said, can I borrow yours? She had some sort of helmet, gold helmet, and I think it had some sort of wings or some sort of like decoration. I said, can I have your helmet? I really need it because I have some things that I need to do. And she was like, don't worry, I'm going to take care of your battles for a while for you. So it's like, oh, that's really, really good. She's like, told me that one of my main missions here on earth was to meditate and to help heal things on an elemental level, and that I needed to adhere to that, and that I was trying very desperately to battle when I shouldn't be doing that, and because that's not in my being. But I'm very fierce when it comes up to protecting what I love, so I understand this. And she did explain to me how different angels, deities, whatever you want to call them, they have power over the elements, and each one has their place, you know. And it was very, very enlightening for me, because I got to see how it's almost like in Thoth, where it says that the serpents will walk among men. It was exactly the same thing when I saw these beings cloaked as humans, you know, but they were not beings. It parallels so much to the story of Thoth too, where he talks about the serpents walking among men. So I found that very, very interesting, and I've been better since that. It's funny because I think that I do get some psychic attacks because the work that I do, and because I speak about this stuff, people aren't happy, and people who, when I say people aren't happy, people who've been accessed. So on 3D they try to, I think, attack me somewhat. I've had issues with witches and issues with different stuff. When you decide to speak about this stuff and you're really truly following the path you should, and you're really experiencing these things, you will have hardships, because I mean, the darkness or the dark ones of this earth, they don't want you knowing this, because that's how they hold power, and anything that's brought to the light doesn't have its power anymore. So they hide in the shadows, and they hide also through not letting the mass majority of humanity have information. So information is blocked from humanity about these things, and they wonder why all this stuff happens to them. They wonder why they get sick so a lot. They wonder why they have all sorts of issues in their lives, and it does come from other planes of existence. It comes from you having parasitic beings that are attached to you that are draining your life force, or you have issues with your chakras or stuff like that. And the powers that be don't want you to know these things. They don't want you to to Delphast, they want you to live a 3D life, and that's what we're battling right now. And those of us who are battling to wake people up do get some very harsh hits, but we are divinely protected. And that's one of the things that I wanted to say, is that also in perception, always try to go higher, always try to go to the higher vibrations, and try to, the higher you go, the less you can be tricked also by lower beings, and the more that you are, I would say, the more knowledge you get, and the more you ascend, the more knowledge you get, because of the fact that you are able to download more. The more higher vibration you go, or the different frequencies you tap into, you can go ahead and download so much information from those frequencies. I also wanted to speak a little bit about what somebody said about me being connected to the computer system. Okay, so my theory, this is it. And like I said, everything that I say is my experience, and everybody has a different experience. I just want everybody to embrace their experiences. My experience is personally my experience. And I don't think that we should base everything off of somebody else's experience. We should listen, we should take the knowledge, we should keep that, but we should always realize that our path in life is our own and nobody else's. But I did want to speak a little bit about the whole computer system connection. It's a bit like Tron. I think I'm able to go into the system and like mess with it and access different parts and access different knowledge. And it's funny because it's layered, and I will definitely be speaking more about that at the conference. I believe certain people are connected, genetically connected to the system because of long ago when the system was created, and it had totally gotten out of hand. I think that certain people are connected to it on a genetic level, to the point that they affect the elements, that they affect the mass consciousness, maybe in a more intense way. I believe that. I was watching, I'm trying to remember, I was watching a movie with Samuel Jackson the other day. I forget it. And it's got Bruce Willis. And it's literally about what he says about comics and movies, about superheroes, how he thought in the end that they were about real people who had these perceptive abilities or who had these different abilities, but it had been like, the stories had been extremely inflated, that the people who were writing that stuff, they were actually like streaming real stuff, maybe they experienced in other lives or stuff like that, and they inflated it, they kind of blitzed it up, glamored it up. But he was like, it was a very interesting movie because I think there's so much truth to that. And it's funny because in this movie, the hero kept feeling depressed until he started using his abilities of perception to literally go and try to save other people's lives, and he winded up saving 2 kids in the end. And he was unhappy and depressed until he accepted himself and accepted that he was giving these abilities of perception to see what would happen beforehand, and so he could go and actually help certain people out. And then suddenly he became happy because that was his soul path. So we all have a different soul path, and I think that that movie was quite great in depicting it. I am definitely going to talk a little bit about what I experienced while I pull up the questions here so I can answer them. I definitely want to talk a little bit what I experienced about the Draconians last night, which makes me feel that they're losing more hold over the planet every single day, and that the sun's helping out with that. I was shown probably, I would say, 14 feet tall draconians, and I was shown that the earth is also a reaping place for soul energy and some other things that I don't want to speak about. They come the higher ones don't necessarily stay here on earth, they come every so long, and I think that the reptilian underlords work for them and reap in lots of energy for them off earth. And I did notice that in my dream I saw them appear in the sky They were around 14 feet tall, and they had massive tech on them. And I looked at them, and I thought there's something very interesting about this, because it's like they were all there, and there was a whole bunch of other people who were also battling these beings. And I will be honest, from my experience and my memories, the last world that I was on was totally destroyed by them. And it was definitely an experience for me to see them like that. And they were upset that this time they're not being able to reap the souls and reap the soul energy that they want. That humanity is starting to wake up and actually war against them. So this is very positive, because I haven't seen this before. And I could see these groups of people just all around the world starting to stand up, and they were becoming just very angry. And then I was in my experience, I saw the one, and he was, I guess what you could call one of their captains. And then I suddenly, they have wings definitely, and they are very, very, I would say, impressive in stature and everything else. But suddenly the one, I could see something that was interesting that I never saw before. I could see what you would call the pentagram, sort of. I could see, like, interdimensionally, he was hiding a sort of pentagram thing around his back. So you could see the wings, and suddenly it flashed on. And one side, I would say the left side, had an eyeball sort of thing on it. I'm not quite sure what that is, but I just remember that in my thing, I said, and many others, and we were all like clotting together, like, attack that eye, and we did, and suddenly it destroyed him, and then they got very afraid and took off. But they kept saying, we were here to reap souls, this is, another time, that Earth was also a sort of reaping place, sort of like growing plants, sort of like where you grow plants and then you come and you harvest them, and it was like that. But this time, they're like, humanity is starting to make a stand, which is really, really good. And this means that we will overcome them. I've had this faith all along, and that we will overcome all of these darker forces. But they are here. They're here to teach us very good lessons, because you don't understand what's precious to you until you fight for it. You don't understand the beauty of freedom until you fight for it. You don't understand that, you don't understand many, many things until you don't have it. And I think a lot of people in the world this instant are very lost, and they're very hopeless, and they don't know what to do. And there's so many children dying, and there's so many people starving, and there's so many people every day, even in modern societies like this where I live in the UK, that are depressed. And I walk throughout the city and see so many people who are depressed and sad, and everybody is at this point, everybody is they initially need to wake up more, and they are doing it. But the thing is that when people wake up, they will find their soul purpose, and they won't be sad anymore. And we do have so many people waking up, and I am kind of losing myself right now, because sometimes I get confused on here, because I do try to stream through. But there are so many hopeless people out there, that's the thing. And I think that people who are actually tapping into these things interdimensionally, they are definitely some of the hope for humanity and for waking up humanity. And I just want to encourage anybody out there of you that is doing that and that takes it on, because it's a very, very hard thing to do, I think, sometimes for a lot of people, because they do get laughed at, and they are the ugly duckling of society. And one day, I just want to tell you, you will definitely be the swans, not the ugly ducklings anymore. Let me go ahead and pull up the question and answer here, and then I can go ahead and get to that. Okay, let's see. I think there might be a bit too many questions for me to even answer. That's the thing. I'm going to try to go ahead and answer all of them. And I'm going to try to pronounce the names right, by the way. Let's see. Zara says, something I wanted to ask you for a while. Last year I had a dream, but I felt it was very real, like a vivid dream. I dreamed that one of my twin boys and myself were sitting in the grass that was next to the lake and the mountains, and you could see the reflection of the mountains in the water. And the water was so clear blue and felt alive. Even the grass felt alive, and I felt so connected to the environment that I started to cry. It felt so magical and love, and I woke up crying, overcome with emotion, and felt longing to go back. It felt so real that I asked my son if he had the same dream. I always wondered if it was heaven or a higher dimension. I never forgot that and always wanted to revisit it. Do you have any insight on what that was? Thanks in advance. Okay, so I can tell you that I experience this quite often. This is also a beckon for us to reconnect with nature. And by reconnecting with nature, we reconnect with our souls. And we are allowed to have so many answers. The problem with society is so many are disconnected from nature. And this is causing mass amounts of harm. It's also causing people to become almost like robots and not connected to anything. So these sort of dreams are to wake you up and to remind you the beauty nature. I believe that God runs through everything, and nature is one of the biggest streams of God energy that you can find other than yourself, and by connecting with it, it reinforces and charges you. I would say that yes, in higher dimensions, everything is connected. Everybody feels everything. Like I said, they speak through emotions, and if there's anything wrong, it gets taken care of right away, and it's a beautiful thing, and they can literally speak to all sorts of things in the higher dimensions. And I do hope that answers your question well. Can I tell you, Mary says, can you tell me how to interpretate orbs? Oh goodness, it really depends with the orbs. It's all sorts of beings pass through orbs, sometimes fairies, sometimes, one time I had one that was a sort of interdimensional pod that like had a camera thing on it that I've seen. I've seen orbs from just ghost. That's their presence. I've seen orbs from parasitic entities. So it really depends on what sort of orbs you're seeing and what the feeling is. Always trust your intuition of what you get from these orbs. Some are good, some are... It's on both sides, because some are good, some are okay, some are not positive. It's just really what you feel. Remember, all of this too is for us to learn more about our perception and trusting our perception of things, and not just being okay with everything is very wrong. We need to trust our intuition and our perception of things, because it was put there on purposely. So if you feel that it's good, then I think it would be good. But if you feel there's something negative, I would say just to try to avoid it as much as you can, or get out of the area where it is. Okay, Caitlin says, once about a year ago, I experienced bliss and saw angels around me. I'm cleaning up my diet, meditating and praying, and working to go back to that moment. Is there anything else I can do to get back to that moment? Thank you. I definitely know Caitlin, and she's one of the loveliest ladies that I know. So I know you'll smile about that. This is the thing, is that I know that you had a very hard childhood, and I know you try your best. And I know that, I remember when you told me about the whole angel thing and everything like that. I do believe that, again, it's about diet, and again, it's about doing some meditation and trying to clear out gunk emotions. So I will definitely message you on that and talk to you about that later. Okay, next question is by La Chapelle. I hope I pronounced that right. It said, I would love to hear your perspective on old souls. Do you choose to keep living a life on this planet, and for what reason, and how many possible lives have they possibly lived? You don't remember, but you lived I would say you lived lives uncountable, even on other planets, even in other dimensions. This is a continuous play in a way, and you're having all different experiences, whether higher or lower. there's really not, you really can't just go back to one life. Most things we experience go back to even other planets or other dimensions. So, you know, the more you soul travel, the more experience you have, the more you, it's so hard to say it. It's in words, it's such a beautiful thing. It's always like there's something new. There's always something new to discover. It's perpetually like there is something new to discover. When you think you've known it all, you know it all because you've experienced so much, there's always something that shows up. And I think that that's the beauty of it. And in our experiences, we learn that no matter how much that we know, there's still always something beautiful that the universe is sending our way to experience. Susanna says, I never had this experience before, but a few months ago I dreamed a small gray looking through my window. I immediately woke up scared. My heart was pounding. I was wondering if it meant anything. Okay, so yes, it does mean something. First of all, it means that you have a problem with grays. I would try to clear my chakras and maybe burn some sage and maybe put a crystal under your bed. Small grays often come in dreams and will try to terrify you so that they can then drain energy from you. So then you'll wake up tired or feeling bad. You're obviously picking up on the presence of this entity that's trying to, maybe doesn't have good intent for you. I'm very suspicious of the small grays because of the stuff that I know about them. I also can speak to them, so they're often used in black magic. When people send in entities to me, they send grays. That's the thing. It's very interesting. There's an interesting correlation between what they send in black magic. They often send grays. I'm still trying to figure out that and find more information out about that. I would say to do self-protection, and also I go into obviously this was in your bedroom, I think, because you said you were dreaming, but 3 times say that you will not allow anything, and do it with will, and say that you will not allow anything that is not positive and that for you inside of your temple, inside of your house, inside of your room, or inside your body, because they do definitely access your consciousness to try to mess with you. That's what I would recommend. Okay. Okay, Tanya says, I got my crystals back and I am dreaming again like crazy. I used rose quartz hematite before, but what would you recommend? Well, here I've got this little magic pouch, and let's see. I think you can help me name a few of these here. Okay, so I've got rose quartz, I've got bloodstone, I've got, I really just try to pick up every stone that I can find out of every, I've got jade, I've got some different ones here, and I try to pick up just every stone that I can find of the different colors or the different energies, and then what I do is I just align them up or put them on my stomach and mix those with the crystals like I said last time. Honestly, you know what you need. So when you go to buy these, I recommend that you probably try to find a store. You go, you feel them. If you feel that that's right for you, take it. That's the thing. That's what I recommend. I got these stones all at different times from different boutiques around England. But the thing is that each stone spoke to me in a way, and I knew it was good for me to have energetically, and that's how I got it. I mean, you will know, your body will know what stone and with the frequency that it needs to heal. So that's what I would recommend that you do. You find a boutique, go in there, and you just feel around, and what you feel would work for you because your body knows. And it obviously is probably something different than me because you have a different energy frequency. Then it will tell you like that by you just simply following your intuition and picking out the stones like that. So that's my answer to your question. Okay, Mrs. Le Chapelle, hopefully I said that one right too, says, sorry if you answered this question before, but do we choose our names before we are born? This all depends. I have two theories on this. One is that there is it's almost like inside of the movie The Adjustment Bureau, where everything in life is written out a bit for us, but we show our true selves if we really fight for what we want. And it's funny because in the end of the Adjustment Bureau, they fought so hard to change the timeline so that they could be together because of love, which is one of the ultimate, to me, is the ultimate magic, and to show that they could do that. And it's funny because in the end, when it ends, he says that humanity will really ascend when they start fighting for what they believe and fighting for what they love, fighting for those things. So I do believe that there's predestination in our names and stuff like that, in how we will look, but I also believe that there are a couple of us that choose them also, and choose where we will go, and choose our families and everything like this. So I do definitely think that there are two ways of seeing that, and there's just not, it's just not black and white with stuff like that. Sometimes that could be predestined name for you because of something, or sometimes you could have chosen it. It just really depends. Of course, the answers lay within yourself, and I think that if you do work on yourself, you'll eventually understand that. Also, names, I like to get an anagram and anagram my name, and you'll see certain keywords in there, so names are definitely very important. Okay, and Alex says, I was wondering, what is your take on the events surrounding Montauk and the Camp Harrow experiments? I just watched an excellent new film from Christopher Garantano, and it has me thinking. I will definitely look into the film and get back to you about that. I know a lot about Montauk because I've experienced even being in the Montauk chair, which I think I explained about that before. I have deep experiences around the time of Katrina of being in the Montauk chair, and then by this lady who was a psychic back then, she guided me to do some exercises on the second hurricane that came in. It's funny because I was then propulsed to the middle of the hurricane where I saw this being, and this being is what was making the hurricane. And it's very interesting because last night I was watching a show of Once Upon a Time, and every time these entities would come out, there would be earthquakes or there would be natural disasters. So I think that when certain energies or entities come out, there are natural disasters and stuff like that. I also wanted to say on that level that I'm really tired of having people say over and over again there's going to be earthquakes here or there, because they're initially feeding into that, and they're trying to you're really helping the side that doesn't mean well for humanity for these things to happen. They want to use your energy to create these earthquakes. If you keep posting this stuff, there's going to be an earthquake to wipe out California or New York or stuff like that. You're actually helping. You're charging it more, and that's what they want. They want people to die in mass so that they can go ahead and reap soul energy. So you really need to watch out what you say on those levels, because it's important that we don't play into that sort of stuff, and that we understand that we're not tools for the side who wants to harm humanity, because they can't make that themselves. They have to use our energy to do that, because we create. They can't do that. They can only manipulate us to do it. So by saying all the time there's going to be martial law, or there's going to be this or that, then there's going to be major issues because you're pushing it. If it happens, it's because you pushed it, because so many people around decided to share all of these figure porn articles and started to push this along, that this is what's going to happen. They're the ones who are helping it manifest it, and they don't even know. They think they're waking humanity up. No, you're not. You're pushing fair porn, and every time people read this, and especially people who live there, and they get terrified, where do you think that energy is going? That energy is going to the leechers of humanity this instant. So you really definitely need to not sort of be obsessed with sharing those articles or stuff like that all the time. I think when I see stuff like that, I just do a simple prayer to the universe, I hope that this doesn't happen. I hope that these souls are okay. And I won't share articles like that because it's absolutely ridiculous. It definitely shows that you don't know how energy works. And there's lots of psyops that are trying to use, especially awaken people's energy to propulse certain events happening. I definitely will get back to you after I go ahead and check out that film, by the way. Max says, what can I do against the Moon Saturn matrix? I think the best thing to do is wake yourself more up and try to, like I said again, find out how to tune your frequencies and when you tune your frequencies, you can then access all sorts of information. And it's also in the subtle energies. I noticed that so many people are enslaved to the Saturnian worship and they don't even know it because it's all on a subtle level. So for you to release yourself even more from that, I think that you need to go ahead and start to learn how to tune your frequencies. I definitely will be talking about that. And you also can, honestly, to release yourself as a prisoner from the matrix system, it's really about you self-empowering yourself on every level possible, on a cellular level, on a body level, on a conscious level, on a mind level, on a heart level, and those things are really going to help open a lot of people up, that awake a lot of people, and they're also going to help you to reach to higher heights and explain a lot of your questions. It's also going to show you exactly how humanity is present here, and you'll start to realize exactly how it works. Michelle says, hi Sarah, could you explain where O negative blood in humans originates from and why there are not really any answers out there? Only controversy. Okay, so this is a question that I will pass for now, and I think that I want to do a whole segment video on this, and there's a couple of articles that I also want to read on the video about this next time. So, because I know a lot about this and a lot about bloodline and a lot about different stuff, so this is something that it would take such a long time to answer, and I think I might bring on somebody I know who also knows a lot about this that can talk about this, and we'll do just one video blog just on that, because that is something that I need to address. Andy says, with the revelations about chemtrails heart now out there with regard to mind control, and as Harold states is under alien control, how can we as a species modify our consciousness in order not to be affected by this technology? Again, I believe that the sun is starting to put out a lot of waves that are burning the darker entities and from the lower astral realms where people's souls have got trapped in. I think as long as we, like I said above, as long as we work on ourselves, and that's the main thing, that will free us enough. That frees us a lot when we work on ourselves. You'll start to see all sorts of things as you do it. Your perception goes up very, very much when you do that. I would say, again, just like I said, body, cellular level, all sorts like that. And I will definitely be doing a video of just exercises that I do, where I can literally, where I go out of my body, where I do different stuff, where I access different information, where I can even touch objects, see images, pick up images from objects and stuff like that. So I will do a video on that, and what I call a bit of a awake training to help out those of you who definitely need that. Samantha said, hi Sarah, my question is about Atlanta. Why are so many people drawn there with alien connections? Also, have you heard of an underground base there, and if so, what is that for? Well, the funny thing, that maybe that's tied to Atlantis. It's funny because I think the United States is actually the modern day Israel, and I think that the UK is the modern day Egypt, from all I understand, and from all of the evidence showing up. And I think that definitely it was named specifically that for some reason. I honestly haven't researched that subject. I definitely will have to do some research on that subject and get back to you about that too. what I do recommend is if you look at in this city, if you look at the main monuments, try to see if there's any symbolism with the main monuments, because that will tell you a lot about a city and about what dimensions and energies it's accessing. Like in Seattle, the space shuttle, the space what do you call it? The Space Needle. I noticed that there's a lot of activity out there, and it's funny because the Space Needle just verifies that. It's like in plain sight, like, look. So I've had a lot of strange experiences in Seattle, and that align to that. But just look, in Detroit, they have like a Stargate in the center. So just look what monuments that your city has that is symbolic, and then Google it, research it, and you'll find out so many answers there. Okay, Craig says, what is the significance in repetitive dreams with slightly different content? Dreaming of being in a certain place with certain people, and on other occasions dreaming of the same place, same people, slightly different scenario. I often return to the house in my dreams, a bit like returning to a TV set to record a different episode in the best way I could describe it. Now, with this, I want to say that it's trying to wake you up to something. I watched this person, and they were quite asleep. And it's funny because I watched this TV program come on freaking 5 times trying to tell them the same message, and I got the message that was for them, and they didn't get it because they weren't listening. And sometimes the matrix system or the universe or higher forces want to wake you up. Even your own subconscious wants to wake you up, your own soul. So it keeps bringing stuff up to try to wake you up. And that's what's happening in your dream. So I think if you could you would have to give me a more detailed, something more detailed about your dream. And then maybe I can go ahead and decode it for you and try to tell you how, I can go ahead and explain how, what the message is in your dream. But it's definitely, if you're going back to the same place over and over again, it's to try to tell you, there's something there, and you haven't caught it yet if it keeps bringing you to the same place. Okay, so Tracy says, I have very lucid, vivid dreams. How can I tell the difference between a dream and an astral dream and a projected? You know what, Tracy, I would like to say is that we don't really need to label our experiences. You're experiencing obviously probably all of these. You don't need to label them. Just flow with them, write them down, and accept the messages from them. I mean, I think it's become sort of a fad to say, oh, it's astral, no, it's interdimensional. It's just all these different experiences are something quite beautiful, and us labeling them is kind of a bit, to me, it's a bit demeaning to them. I would like to say you probably are accessing all of those, and you probably shouldn't worry about it. Write it down in books. Don't worry about the labels on them. Gabby says, what do you think makes crop circles and why? Okay, so as for crop circles, they are, I would say, the language of the universe. I know that people claim that UFOs do crop circles. I'm sure that they do sometimes. I would say that the small orbs you see to the fields that they talk about are actually the life energy from the planet too that is creating crop circles to tell us about different codes, genetic codes, all sorts of different codes, and it's a very lovely thing, and I have nothing wrong with crop circles, and I can access them and access different points through them in different portals. April says, first, where can I, okay, she wants to, April, I'll send you a link to the video blog, by the way. She said, I'm interested in healing centers. I do think that is one of the keys to helping many people wake up and take us to ascension. I would also like more tips on how to create in the 4th dimension and how to have it show up in the 3rd dimension, as I feel it can help me free up my time so I'm able to research and fill myself with knowledge and get these healing centers going. I have been following Max for years. I also am happy you're coming out and giving us very important information. Thank you. Well, that's very lovely. Thank you. Okay. So this is the thing. I do see a future where we can create healing centers, and literally that where you use light, where you use nutrition, where you use sound, where you use the different elements to heal the body right away of everything that is wrong with it. So I do definitely see that into the future if we really, really put our minds to it, and I think we would need them because there's so many people out there that need healing. First of all, I am able to go into astral, create something and have it manifest here, or lucid dreaming the same way. So if you want to do that sort of stuff, I recommend that you research a lot about lucid dreaming, a lot about astraling, and then you learn how to program yourself. And again, I will do a video on just that too, where you program yourself of, I'm going to go into astral, I'm going to create this. Then it will take a while, but it'll come down into this dimension. I believe that a lot of the dark forces have hold on those dimensions because they know by creating in them, it then spills over to this dimension, and that's how a lot of them keep their power. And some of the very high up people that I've been around, that's how it works. I caught them doing stuff in other dimensions so they could hold their power here, whether no matter how rich they are or whatever, that's how they're working that sort of magic. So they've figured out how to use that magic, and they don't want the mass consciousness to access that information. Okay, so I'm doing my best because there's quite a few here. Okay, Trader Joe said, helping people we care about who seem to be tapped, possessed to a noticeable degree. In my friend's case, maybe less than 10% of the time, but that 10% is very noticeable. My question is how we can help without encroaching on their free will. Encouraging better lifestyle choices in terms of food, sleep, conversation patterns is the work I have been doing so far, but since she is not directly asking for this kind of support, I don't wish to overstep. Although she was recently made homeless and is engaging in the help offered in other ways, which has enabled some temporary accommodation. I am interested in what you have to suggest as the most effective path in these situations. Some of my friends have suggested that I am already doing too much and are encouraging me to let go, which I feel actually drains my energy. And so maybe distraction and foul play at work too. For me, I also know that compassion is an important aspect. I am working on this in life. So any insights you can offer to that would be really helpful. Thank you, Sarah, for taking this question and for all you're doing. Thank you. Okay, we can help people to a certain point, and then we should stop. If we don't see any positive outcome from that, we should stop. I can assure you it will affect them somewhere down in their lives. Maybe even not this life, but it will affect them. But do not put yourself at a point of where you are getting your own energy drained. I mean, you shouldn't go there. Your soul energy is precious. Also, don't let yourself be taken advantage of. I think the best way of waking people up, we can be kind, we can be compassionate, we can help them out somewhat, but we shouldn't overstep it and throw ourselves into it desperately, because I think in the end we could just wind up losing our own soul energy and getting lost. And there are entities, yes, that use the people around us to try to make us have pity for these people when these negative entities are trying to drain us through these people. Because you have to remember, somebody who isn't aware is always able to be accessed by lower entities, especially if you are somebody who is going up. You will be accessed by these entities, and they will come into people around you or people you care about. So you have to accept that. That's one of the things you have to accept when you are going to higher levels and when you're changing, when you're a awake person. I would say just in this case that I would probably back up. I'd be very kind, still compassionate, but don't go out of your way. Start taking care of yourself a little bit, because I do feel like it has drained you somewhat and made you maybe not feel so good internally. Our feelings are very important. It affects everything around us. We need to have bliss feelings. We need to have happiness feelings. We need to feel full of energy. We don't need to feel drained. It's a very bad thing. So work on that, and as you work on that, since you're energetically connected to her, it will do more work. I never say force anybody. I don't think that is right. I think that just as I work, as people see that I'm doing well, that I'm healthy, that I look well, that I look happy, then they will be like, oh, what are you doing? You're doing something different. You know, they come and they want to know then, because they also want that in their life. So that's what I recommend for you. So you just right now take care of yourself and understand that you did show compassion and kindness and you did do a lot already, so don't worry about it. Donna West says, can you address this outside programming of September being the time for the fear-based event and what we can do to transmute this energy they are throwing at us? To love. Also, do you feel that it's important to stay grounded to Sophia to keep our connection and body intelligence clear? Yes, please do stay connected to Sophia. I would also say, again, it's just like the whole fair porn that I said earlier. I don't believe in that. I saw September actually, and I saw in this winter that there would be some amazing things that were happening. So I saw the opposite of this. I don't know why so many people, I guess, think that that's going to happen. I don't see this at all. I see people waking up more every day, people literally changing every day. So I have a very, very positive outlook on this. So I would just say is, yes, meditate on it and just try to say, hey, listen, I don't believe there's going to be a bad outcome. I believe there's going to be a really good outcome. I think right now there's the biggest attempt to drain humanity through fair porn. It's incredible. So we really need to watch out about that. Okay. And I think that's about it with my questions for today. So I think that went quite well. Hopefully I explained those well enough for today. And there are a couple that I will be addressing in some other video blogs that I do. And I definitely wanted to encourage people to be themselves, no matter what people say. Be healthy, be happy. Just be kind, be caring. Don't let other people harm you. There's also what I call righteous anger. If somebody's trying to harm you, give them a kick. They need a reality check. That kick will help them. They won't go attacking other people. It's funny because I'm a bit like, I was watching Once Upon a Time last night, and I feel a bit like Princess Swan in there. You know, she's definitely helping everybody, but she doesn't take crap. She's like, I'm not taking crap. Like, she's like, you know, and that's the same thing. That's how I feel that we need to be. We need to help people out, definitely, but we also need to make sure we don't get depleted. And when somebody comes over and they're trying to be rude to us or mean to us, we need to give them a couple of chances. Now, if they still act like that, we don't take crap. We're like, listen, we do not accept to be abused on a, you know, because people use a lot of emotional abuse where they will attack you too, or verbal abuse, and it is abuse. So don't allow people to come and tell you like you're terrible or you're this or you're that because you're different, or attack you on just anything. I think I had it like a day ago from a person who said they evaluated my life and that I was my worst enemy, and I thought this is ridiculous, and I gave him a good kick, like, you obviously have issues. What's your issue? It's obviously one of these. You don't go and find people that you don't know online and attack them, and you don't go and you don't try to harm them because, quote, you know it all because you're some new age guru or your guru is telling you this. I really don't care about that. I do care about teaching people what I call righteous defense, a sort of righteous defense system. You have righteous anger. If somebody's harming you, don't let them harm you, because then you're saying to the universe, yes, it's okay for me to be harmed. It's okay for me to people to walk over me. It's okay for people to take advantage of me. Don't encode that into the universe. Don't encode that into you, into your field, because then it will happen over and over again. Make sure when somebody tries to harm you, you give them a good kick, because righteous anger is something that is okay, and that's what I wanted to let everybody know. And I am definitely cutting this video short today, so I think I think we're finished about now.
Right, thank you, Sarah, and that's block 4.